But let's talk a little bit, if we can, about the big rivalry between Geelong and Port Adelaide. And I just want to take you through, Jake, a few of the games that we've played against them over the years. So let's go back. Some of the big finals games I'm talking about here. So the 2021 qualifying final, some of this is pretty hard to hear. Some of it's pretty great. But the 2021 qualifying final, Port Adelaide win that game by 43 points. This game will be forever remembered, at least for me, is the game that we kept kicking it to Aliir. I don't know what we were doing, but we just kept bombing it to him all the time. I think he took about 4 or 5 contested marks in that first quarter. I could not believe what I was seeing. It's like, guys, what are you doing? Fantasia, whatever his name is, I'm not sure. He kicked 4 goals for Port. We were just never in it. I think they won every quarter. We were just comprehensively smashed. Didn't kick straight either, which didn't help. The 2020 qualifying final, Port Adelaide won that one by 16 points. We were horrible that day, Jake. 5 goals, 12. Could you believe? 5 goals, 12. Oh, if only we kicked a few more of those goals, who knows what would have happened. But doesn't matter. We still made the grand final that year, and we won't talk about Dustin Martin and what happened in that game. But let's go back to a bit more funner times, Jake. The 2013 semi-final, we touched on this earlier with Paul Chapman. We won that game by 16 points. We lost the 2021 by 16, but we won this one by 16. Paul Chapman, absolutely dominant, kicked the first 2 goals of the game, ended up with 4. Absolutely glorious. The Cats looked like they were going to drop this one early. Port Adelaide, a young Port Adelaide at the time, came from nowhere really, and they looked amazing on the MCG. But Cats did what the Cats do and just found a way to get on top. And I think we got it out to nearly 5 goals towards the end, and then Port maybe got a couple late to sort of bring it back to 16 points. But Jake, the big one that we all love to reminisce and talk about and come back to and remind Port Adelaide supporters about was the 2007 grand final. How much did we win by again? I forget. 119 points, the greatest margin in AFL grand final history. Yes, Port Adelaide fans, until you beat us in a grand final, we're always going to remind you about that. Just in case you forget, you just need a little reminder every now and then. You beat us in a semi, whoop-de-doo. Come and see us in a grand final. So that was a great game. We spoke about earlier. That was Stevie J winning the Norm Smith. Terrific, that game. Cam Mooney kicked 5 goals, mind you. 5 goals as well, and pretty much every Geelong player just played the game of their life. It was not great for neutral fans, I should say, but fantastic regardless. And the 2004 preliminary final, a very young Cats team, Jake, and I want to ask you about this in a sec if your memory goes that far back, but 2004 qualifying final against Port Adelaide. They were top of the ladder that year. We lost that game by 55 points. Absolutely got smashed. A very young Geelong side that hadn't quite sort of become the side that they were going to become a few years later. But yeah, do you have any memories of way back in 24? I'm not sure how old you were back then, but does that ring any bells for you, that game? I think David Spriggs might have been playing that game from memory, if you remember that name.
Yeah, no, it definitely rings bells to me. That I was 14 in 2004. It was the first season that I really got into football. I watched the 2003 grand final the year before. I was sort of a latecomer to sport in general. So I watched 03 grand final, Brisbane and the Pies, really loved it. Couldn't wait for 04 to start. Followed the Cats because that's my family's team. So yeah, I watched a heap of footy in 2004. I remember watching that final against Port. Very clear that they were the far superior side. I mean, it was just 70-23 at halftime. That was the gap. But you know, I thought impressively, you know, we kicked 6 goals to their 7 in the second half, and sort of I thought you could see that there was something there for this Cats team. I mean, the fact that we would then go on after that, we went to a semi-final and beat Essendon. I remember watching that game at my grandma's place down in Geelong, beat them by 10 points, 74-64. And then we pushed Brisbane the following week in a prelim, lost by 9 points to that great Brisbane side, 84-75. So yeah, plenty of memories for me of that time. Stevie J kicked 2 goals 2 in that game against Port. Kent Kingsley, 2 goals 1. And Darren Milburn led the way with 26 disposals.
Oh,
So
Dasher.
yeah, we were young and green, but there was something there, something building. Just took a
It
few
was,
seasons to all come together.
yeah, that game, it was devastating. I remember I was living in Hamilton at the time, not Hamilton, Canada, Hamilton, Victoria, and I was just getting back into footy. I started really taking it seriously in 2000, but the Cats were pretty much at the bottom. They were rock bottom really after all those grand finals through the 90s and 1989. We were an up and coming side, and we got to that final. I thought, here we go. We're a top four team. I couldn't believe it. It was a great regular season, great home and away season, and the Cats. I was so excited to be back in the finals. Mate, I was so devastated at the end of that game. It rocked me. I did forget about the Essendon game the week after. I've sort of forgotten that one a little bit. You tend to remember the games you lose more than the games that you win. But yeah, the preliminary final against Brisbane a couple of weeks later. We had that game on. We had them on toast at one point, and then Riccardi, I think, missed a shot late, which would have put us real close, if not in front. I can't remember the exact scoring progression there, but I felt like we were just making a charge, and then we missed that, and then it went down the other end, and they got a goal, and yeah, well, as you said, we lost by 9 points. But that one hurt. The 2013 one was great, and I think all the talk after the 2013 semi-final was that Port Adelaide did well to get where they got to that year, and the 2007 grand final, Jake. As I said, the neutrals probably didn't like it, but I actually, and I don't normally cry. But yeah, that had me in tears at the end after the grand final. I was a sucking mess after that. I couldn't believe it's been 44 years since the Cats won a premiership. Mate, take me back real quickly as to your experience of that day against Port in the 2007 grand final.
Nervous wreck. I was such a nervous footy fan back then. And, it's because you've never experienced these things. I'd never watched my team in a grand final. I'd heard a lot about, Geelong's reputation in my family was, they're the chokers. They're not going to do anything, and you've seen it. Look, 2004, choked the prelim against Brisbane. 2005, choked it away against Sydney. 2006, won the NAB Cup, thought we were everything in a bit, and we missed the finals. And then 2007, it was just like all set up for this massive gut punch. But I was nervous, but I thought, geez, we are the best team by a mile in this competition. And it was just about, I felt like it was just about us doing it. And only really we could stop ourselves. And I think that was as it proved. I don't think, Port Adelaide could have had their all-time 22 on the park. They could have had an all AFL 22. I think we would have done them by 100 no matter what, because it was one of the most dominant seasons of footy I've ever watched from any side. If you go back and look at the average winning margin we had that season, and then even finals, I mean, we curb stomped North Melbourne in the qualifying final. They tried to run through our pack, and we turned around and said, well, here's a triple burger for you. Here's a 100-point loss. Get out. Go away, Glenn Archer. Shinbone this. And then survived a cauldron against Collingwood. That Gary Ablett, cometh the moment, cometh the man, the son of the man, snap around the body, still makes me tingle up. We were on the doorstep of something really special for a lot of years. And then it all unlocked. And it was like a massive shedding in 2007 when that final siren went. And you could see the realization of past players around the ground when they'd cut to them that was a curse that was broken. There was a curse there that we would always be chokers, that we would never make it. And to me, and I'm on a tangent here, Ben, but it's why 2009 stands for me as the most significant flag we won. Because 2008 could have been Hawthorn putting us back in that box of like, yeah, you thought you were out of it, but we're going to stuff you back in the locker and you're still chokers. So 2009, to rip that out of the Saints' guts and say, no thanks, we are not. I don't think we have the dynasty if it's not for 2009. and maybe 2007 gave us the belief to go back to the well again after 08. So I've just got great memories of that 2007 grand final. Just couldn't believe it, and it was just like more. Just give me more goals, more goals. It was glorious. Yeah.
A little bit of trivia, Jake. I'll give you the answer as well as the question. But did you know when Geelong kicked the first goal in that 2007 grand final? We kicked 24 goals for the game. You'd think we just went crazy from the first minute, but no, it took about 8 minutes or 7 or 8 minutes to kick the first goal in that game. And then after that, the floodgates absolutely opened. We just dominated from there on. I remember the first goal of the game, Chappie. We've talked about Chappie already, but just bombing it from 65 metres. I'm like, he's going to kick it all the way here.
Yeah.
I'll probably add another 5 metres to that. But he absolutely bombed it to the top of the goal square, or to the goal square, or the goal line. And Cam Mooney says, I'll have that. Thank you very much. Could have let it go through. 60-metre goal to get the crowd up and about. But no, Mooney takes the mark, goes back, kicks truly. A little bit of a fist pump there, and on we went. And after that, you've got we've got Jimmy Bartell kicking left foot snags around the corner in the first quarter. After I went for while I was having a quick toilet break, I heard the family screaming and yelling, "What's going on? Jimmy's just kicked a goal on his left." Nathan Ablett taking one-handers. It was incredible. That was an amazing game. Do I feel bad for Port Adelaide? No, I don't.
So I've got to add. I've got to add a couple of moments there that to me, Gary Ablett palming that kick out down, running on and kicking the goal.
Yes.
And then the one that stood out to me when I knew that they were fully cooked was Brad Otten's running down one of their speedy flankers on the wing. Like, it was a mismatch in terms of size. This tiny little, I can't remember if it was Pettigrew or maybe it was Pettigrew, running, taking bounces, and you could just see this lumbering giant, Brad Otten's, gaining and gaining and gaining, and he mows him down and wins a holding the ball. And I thought, they're done. They are cooked. If our ruckman is running down, their sort of halfback, flank, wing, speedy type players, they've not a chance.
And let's not forget about Paul Chapman taking mark of the century over Warren Treadgrey. I don't know if you remember, but I think they won a prelim the week before, and he's bowing to the crowd and all this sort of stuff. And then in the grand final, a couple of Geelong supporters were just like, "Oh, you dickhead, hey," all that sort of stuff. Look, it's going to be. I'm looking forward to this one, mate. We've got they're due a bit of payback. They got us at home this season, even though we nearly run over the top of them in the end. But yeah, that final from a few years ago, the 2021 qualifying final, I think we owe them a little bit of payback for that.